Welcome to Breaking Barriers with R&D, your direct line to Randy Dowdy and David Hula, here to help fellow farmers unlock the potential in their fields. Are you looking to implement best practices that maximize ROI? You've come to the right place. Real value, real yield, real ROI. Breaking Barriers with R&D starts now. Breaking Barriers is brought to you by the next generation of weed control, Liberty Ultra Herbicide from BASF. Learn more about the best Liberty yet at liberty-ultra.us.
Welcome to another episode of Breaking Barriers with R&D. Dowdy, it's my great pleasure again to be on this Zoom podcast, whatever we want to call it, but I am sitting at Curl's Neck today, and I flew in last night from Nashville, and the moon was bright. I saw the shadow of the airplane as they were approaching the runway. But driving over it, the state of Virginia looks like the Midwest, man. There is ice, snow everywhere. And I get home, and I don't like cold weather, as you well know, but I get home, and there's just sheets of ice. And I was hoping while I was gone, it'd melt away. But I guess maybe that's what you deal with in Michigan when you're up there. But I pray for you, man.
Well, there's probably 2 foot of snow on the ground. We had 2 foot that normally melts in November, December. Later December, it did finally warm up. That 2 foot of snow melted. Then it became slush and a mess because there was 4 or 5 days in the 40s and sun shining, and most of the snow melted. Then, man, it's been coming back with a vengeance, and it's not warmed back up. And there's probably 2 foot on the ground now. And it has settled to about 2 feet. So it's there. It's going to take some warm days for sure, from what I'm hearing. I'm not there. I'm in Georgia. It was cold in Georgia the last few days. We had a couple of pipes freeze. We left water running, just didn't leave it running enough. And the guys got to fix some pipes when they got back on Monday. But we got down in the 20s with a 25-mile-an-hour wind. It was single-digit wind chill. It was cool. It reminded me of being in Michigan, but no snow on the ground. We didn't have to deal with any of that. No ice. Just a good hard freeze for 3 or 4 days. But we're supposed to be, I think, 65 for a high today. It was 27 this morning, 65 for a high today. Easton's wanting to go fishing. I said, buddy, it might be cool out there. Oh, Daddy, it's going to be 65. It's going to be warm enough. So, on the farm, chicken litter is being placed, getting ready to start spreading some chicken litter. Normally like to do it in the fall, but they're placing it now. So getting some chicken litter put out. That's happening. Some soil samples was late getting pulled, but they're being pulled on 1 acre grids this past week. Hopefully get the analysis this week or the first of next week on that. So we're getting ready, David. We're 4 or 5 weeks from farming. I mean, it won't be long. It's the weather forecast is not bad. Got in mind when Easter is this year. So Easter, I think, is April 5th. So if weather permits, we're abnormally dry. So if weather permits from a soil temperature perspective, we may actually get some corn planted in February. If not, then hopefully by the 1st of March.
Well, has the planter showed up yet? Because I know you're getting to try one of the newer style John Deere planters.
No, it has not. And I've been told 3 or 4 times, it just... It's not here, David.
Okay. All right. I was hoping, because we all know after what I learned in the last podcast, it's got to be Randy ready. And I don't know if it's Randy ready yet until it shows up.
It's not Randy ready. I hope we're going to look at it in 2 weeks before we go to our big meeting. Our big meeting, as you well know, is coming up in a couple weeks, 3 weeks, I guess. And we'll be in a little less than 3 weeks, actually. We'll be in San Antonio, just ahead of the Commodity Classic. And I hope the planter gets here before then so I can go over it and do my thing. Hopefully, hope's a strategy, David, but it ain't a good one. Hopefully, it'll be better than it was last year. And we'll see what we got. Got some work to do for sure. So what are you doing in Curl's Neck?
Has you ever heard about preventive maintenance? Sometimes we don't do a good enough job on preventive maintenance, but I got a John Deere 644 loader that I was having a little trouble with the battery, and um not we put new batteries in it, and I think the alternator generator's out, and I had one of the guys, we bought one of those inexpensive solar panels. I said, let's put that on there and keep the batteries charged. Well, I jumped out of the cab of the pickup and I need to jump start it and make sure the alternator generator's working before we do a whole lot more investment. But because I wanted to spread some more lime, we still my focus this year was to get all the Curl's Neck lime spread. And that 1 acre grids. I'm down to where I'm going to drive over a lot of acres and not spread many pounds or tons of lime. Just kind of hitting the low spots. Yeah, that's the cool thing about the doing those 1 acre grids you talked me into years and years ago, and VRT and lime. We've become a lot more efficient. But I just got back from Nashville, and I went to Matt Bennett's ag market meeting. I flew in there Sunday. I missed the first part. I missed all the good stuff. I missed the parts of where they were talking about how to price grain, what to be taken advantage of. They had some technical difficulties, just like you and I experience sometimes doing this podcast. So I missed when they were going to talk about pricing grain, but I did hear plenty of reasons why prices are the way they are. And I'm not a marketer by any means, but when you mentioned the grower clinic, Matt Bennett's going to be there, and I think he's got about an hour or so. We never seem to give him enough time, but hopefully he's going to share and bring a lot of light to what's going on, both from a fertilizer standpoint as well as what we can be doing to hedging their bets. And if like some of them said, if they knew what the market was going to do, they would change the location of that meeting, and it would probably be on one of their islands as opposed to us going to Nashville. And it was cold in Nashville too. I mean, they just had that big storm. But
you think it'd be Epstein Island?
Tell it. I don't know. Yeah,
that's what we farmers feel like we go to every day is Epstein Island.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
I won't say much more, but
Yeah.
I hear you loud and clear. There's no doubt about it. The markets are driving the force on decisions, and man, there is nothing. I mean, we were in a little bit of momentum swing until that last, report came out, and you and I both were on the road, and it was like you sucked the wind out of the room when the market dropped 20-30 cents that day. I mean, it just sucked. I think we referenced it last week, but I still don't think it's recovered to where it was headed. We had a chance for it to keep some momentum going, but it don't feel good right now for sure.
Yeah.
So you spreading lime? You spreading high cal lime, dolomitic lime? What's your
No, we're doing dolomitic lime. I still need some mag. I mean, the mag base sats were getting down into the 10, 11%. Some as high as 13. There's some spots, that the spots where the mag base sat might be 16 to 18, and I'm trying to bring some pH up. I would have switched to high cal lime, but they're so few and far between. So we're just running dolomitic. And I think I probably need another 40. I mean, not 40, probably another 140 tons, and then we'll be done on this farm. And that's probably going to be it. We're going to run out of time. In reference to strip tilling, clearly with the moisture we got that's frozen, and by the time it thaws out, we're probably not going to get as many acres strip tilled as what we had planned for. But last year we were strip tilling and planting at the same time. Barley ran the Soul Warrior, and I was running the planter. And that worked out. Weather-wise, and Eric Snodgrass was at the ag market and meeting, and, once again, he talked about the El Nino that might form, and learned a little bit more about how all that takes place. But in general, he said for the guys in the Midwest, If the Gulf and the Delta are wet, they'll probably have a decent year. But if they're dry in the springtime, the Gulf and the Delta, odds are it might be dry again in the Midwest. So we don't ever want somebody to have a stress to cause us to have good prices, but we all farm and we're dependent on Mother Nature, as you well
Oh,
know.
you don't care if South America gets stressed, but uh, we're not vested down there like we are in the States yet. But there's no doubt somebody's got to lose for somebody to win. It is a world market for sure, and you know these weather reports and these weather predictions and all that crap. Man, it, I just wish there was more demand. I just wish there would, if the government could come out with a E15 mandate and, they could do some things with the aviation fuel and things like that. I think we could just create a lot of demand that could really help the farmers out. But unfortunately, they don't listen to me, David. Um, we don't need to have demand coming from China that dictates our markets. We don't need a drought in South America to dictate our markets. We need just consumption, national consumption here to dictate our markets, and that to me is a way for us to do some self perseverance. And I'm sure somebody out there would probably be frowning upon my comments, but I don't really care. I'd really rather us be a little more control of our own destiny than trying to hope that the weather takes it from somebody else, or that we got to depend on people that make commitments and then don't honor those commitments, or turn down a barge, or they change their mind politically just to manipulate the markets. And that has been a pattern with some of the end users and the purchasers over the years. So I really wish we could create some demand internally within the United States and let that drive the force. But I don't know what it's going to take to get Becky Rollins and Donald Trump's ear, but I'd sure like to have it. Um, I'd like to get in that room and talk some sense into them about some policy changes and see what we can make happen. But I keep putting this out here on this podcast. Maybe somebody's going to listen to it one day, David, and say, you know what? Maybe let's give this old dumb country boy from Georgia a chance to talk.
Well, I don't know. I wish they would listen sometimes, but I think we're all in agreement. Most farmers, they don't want a handout. They don't want anything coming from FSA if they can have good grain prices. Oftentimes I've said, just give me good crop insurance. Let me manage my risk. And that was something I did want to say. I tried calling my local crop insurance guy to see if he would be willing to be part of this podcast, and he couldn't today. I think maybe at the next podcast, we're going to try to get a crop insurance guy. I thought that would be good because I don't know if you've done a budget for 26 yet, but it is scary. I mean, we did a budget, and I guess I got 3 to 4 buckets of budget. Depends on what the crop looks like as it's coming up, and kind of like checking boxes. If it's just regular corn, I mean, we're looking at roughly $700 an acre for corn. Then if it came up good, then we could be in that $800 to $850 range. And if we check the next bucket, it's going to be 900. And if we kind of follow through irrigation or so, just regular irrigated corn, we're $1,060. And
Does
I'm
that
trying.
include land rent?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I need to pull that out. That's a Rimwood farm budget. So now you get in the Midwest, at that you got to probably add some more money for the rent. But when you start looking at crop insurance, say, hey, I need to protect myself. I talked to Dave Simpson, my crop insurance guy, this morning, and I'm hoping to get him or somebody on at one of our next podcasts. But he's like, the big beautiful bill helped out a lot of things. He talked about now with some changes, we can do the SCO and ECO. And he's like, you can get up to 95% coverage at a very reasonable price. And that'll get me close to that $800 an acre. And he's saying less than $40 an acre. So that's, I've always been 70%, 75, and, we've been enterprising. If we can lock in more and take advantage of that, the only thing we wish we had is better prices, And then he jokingly said, best scenario would be prices go up, we have a drought, pick 50 bushel of corn and then get 800 and some dollar of coverage, and then you don't wear your trucks out hauling grain. That's not what I want, man. I'd rather pick 200 bushels of corn and have good prices. But I think growers really need to focus on crop insurance this year. You even out in the Midwest, they have a drought, Dowdy. What are they picking? 160, 170 bushel corn. You get a drought. What are you picking? 30,
Zero.
40 bushels, or zero.
Zero.
Yeah.
It comes the wrong time, man. It ain't hard for us to get a zero at all.
Yeah, and then you get a hurricane. Boom, done. So those things, we're trying to budget items. I know you and I during the Pro Farmer Crop Tour, we said, one of the things I shared, make sure when y'all doing budgets for 26 to make sure you save some of those dollars for a late fungicide. Well, we need to make sure we save some dollars for crop insurance. And we've always used crop insurance at the farm. It's just too risky not to.
Oh yeah, it helps me sleep at night. I mean, we get too many named storms that start as early as June, and heck, I mean, it could be rainmakers, it could miss us, it could be wind events, it could be 2 hurricanes that are Cat 5s. We've seen it all, and those cloudy days is what kills us. And we already in that. With no name storms, we get in the summer 60% chance of rain every day. That means from the morning until 3 o'clock, it's sunny. But from 3 to 6 or 8 o'clock at night, now you're dealing with afternoon thunderstorms, and we just lose some of that. We cool the plants down, those things happen, but you get straight line winds, you get cloudy days, and every time there's a cloudy day during that time of year, you say, well, you're getting rain. What you fussing about? Man, if I want to make high yields, I'd rather make it rain. It's just the way it is, or it come at night. No wind, no hail, no lightning, and it rain at night, and then be sunshiny the next day. I don't need cloudy days for 2/3 of the daylight period, or a third of the daylight period. We need premium solar radiation, especially during grain fill. And when we have that, we ring the bell. That's just the way it is. I mean, normally that's when we crank out our highest yields.
In fields where weeds don't back down, farmers count on Liberty Ultra Herbicide by BASF. The Liberty Lock formulation delivers stronger coverage, improved uptake, and 20% better weed control. Results Colin Ryan in north central Iowa knows well.
The Liberty Lock formulation seems to really get down, penetrate into the weed, and the performance has been great.
That's Liberty Ultra Herbicide. Consistent, proven performance. Hear more Ultramonials at libertyultramonials.com. Always read and follow label directions. In fields where weeds don't back down, farmers count on Liberty Ultra Herbicide by BASF. The Liberty Lock formulation delivers stronger coverage and 20% better weed control, something Todd Ryan in Moravia, Iowa has seen firsthand.
I've been using Liberty for a number of years and really got along fine with it, but now we've upgraded to Liberty Ultra, and it seems like to me the burn down is quicker.
That's Liberty Ultra Herbicide. Clear, reliable efficiency. Hear more Ultramonials at libertyultramonials.com. Always read and follow label directions.
So Dowdy, the other day I gave a talk at the ag market meeting, and I changed it up a little bit from a standpoint. I oftentimes talk about, farmers' hand to success, and then I talk about some bullets. Well, as growers, we kind of got to get back to the basics. When you think about this, is not a time to be doing a lot of new stuff. So as in that thought process, I related it to like building a house. You pick a design first and foremost. So that would be kind of like picking your corn hybrid. Then the next thing in building a house, and most of us have tried it at least one time, you get your site work done. So that would be like whatever tillage a grower's doing. And then as we're building the house, the next thing is putting in a foundation. And Dowdy, that's like the planter. Then when it starts to change, because we got to do all those at first, but then you frame the house, and that's like the fertility. And the changes come right after that. You got your plumbing, your electrical, your wiring. What kind of tub do you have? What kind of light fixtures do you have? so then I related that to herbicide. Growers, when you think about the options this year, trying to cut some cut some expenses. Maybe don't use that Cadillac herbicide program. Control weeds, but start looking at things to where we can, I don't want to say cut dollars, but be more efficient with their dollars. And then in that building thought process, you got it framed in, you got plumbing and water, then you start closing it up. Do you do siding? Do you do brick? Do you have a metal roof or shingle roof? Well, that's like your other pesticides like fungicide and insecticide. You got options. Well, growers have been planting a crop their lifetime. Now you got first generation guys that have not. But I really hate when growers have not done what you say, leave a control with and without, and comparing things. This is where I'm worried that farmers are going to cut things out, and they're going to cut the wrong thing out because they don't know what products have been paying. And when you think about, all right, you're farming in Georgia and you're farming in Michigan, you probably can take some of that information from Georgia to Michigan, but you might do some things different. I don't know. So I guess I'm posing that question to you. When you're thinking about this year, we got BSF, a big sponsor of our podcast, and their fungicides work great. But I'm like, Veltima's good. Well, when we experienced that southern rust, to me, there had been nothing wrong with using a headline amp. We're still getting similar benefits, but we're also controlling diseases. So I know I just threw this at you, but this is something that I've been trying to look on Air Farm. Where can we go from this premier package to one that's going to be functional? And I've already got things in mind.
Well, David, I can just tell you, the first thing we got to do is focus on the planter. We get the emergence the way we want it, and then we got to think about the planter pass. What are we tackling in the 2x2? What are we tackling in the furrow? That pass to me is not where we save money. We have to get a stand. We need to control pests, and when we control pests, we got to control. I've got an insecticide in the furrow. I've got a fungicide in the furrow. I buy the best seed treatments, and sometimes you change the factory seed treatments. You add stuff to that. I have to get the best possible stand I possibly can and get simultaneous emergence and try to make sure we don't have problems with stalk rot. We don't have a problem with anthracnose. We don't have a problem. And not everybody can just go out there, David, and tackle it. And I mean, do you want to put a fungicide in the furrow, or do you want to take and spray it V3, V4? It's real simple. For me, I'd rather do it in the furrow. And if stalk rot can be a problem, which a lot of people have those issues, it's better to, in my opinion, to tackle it in the furrow. Having a good seed treatment. And then you got to think about it. From there, we manage once we have a stand that we evaluate and we start looking at root development. I'll tell you something else, David, that just don't happen with the average farmer. How long does it take for most farmers to go dig in the fields to see what the root system looks like below ground? When they go with us, they're going with us pre-tassel at some point, V4, V5 to VT, just depends on when we show up, and we'll get out there with a shovel. But most farmers aren't doing that to begin with, and then they don't dig, period. But we need to look at what's going on below ground, whether that is feeding, whether that is nematode damage on the roots, whether that is root pruning. Do we have fine root hairs that are being scalded off due to salt injury, salt damage? Do we have prolific root system to begin with? Do we have a prolific root system with the roots that are, below the seed, the ones that really drive what? Rows around. And do we have that? Yes or no? And guys, they're quick to cut out inputs because they don't know if it turns into dollars, and I'm okay with that. But we can't make dollars. We can't save our way to prosperity, but we can spend our way broke. You've heard me say that 100 times. there's things to spend money on. I'm going to spend money on the planter on things that I know pays, and I'm going to try to get the best stand. Now, once you have that stand, we need to control weeds. You're right. Can we do it with different methods? Maybe can we do it with different dollars? Sure. And then I start looking at fungicides, and you mentioned something about some of the premium fungicides versus some of the older stuff that's still effective. I'm 100% with you. Um, I'm of the mindset, we get the plant health benefits from some of that technology, but I'm all about let's controlling the pest as best we can for as cheap as we can do it and save the Cadillac for when we're going to make that very last pass at the end of the year. That's my approach. That's the way I tackle it. And some of that happens with cheaper fungicides in the middle. I may have a nice fungicide in the furrow because I know how important that stand is, but then I'm going to back off kind of in that V10, that R2 time frame for protecting the plant. But then that Velteam is coming. It's just going to come later in the year for me because I may need 4 or 5 weeks out of it, and that's a lot to ask. And I don't think they give us
Sure.
more than really 3. So I may do some heavy lifting with some Preaxor, some headline, or some headline amp in the middle. That's my strategy.
Yep. I'm trying to. Yes, somebody tried calling. You know how that is sometimes on this podcast stuff. Funny thing, of all people to call, it'd be my crop duster right then. Matt Crab. He must have heard us talking about fungicide, so he wants to make sure we're geared away. And so I agree with you. I think Total Acre members, as well as you and myself, we are so geared towards getting that crop up. And once we get that crop up to or get it up, and then I like what you're saying. I know you dig, I dig, checking early. Then it's where we start differentiating. Is it corn or is it just corn? If it's just corn, we just manage it like it's just regular corn. And then if it's better corn, keep going. But the toughest conversation I have with growers in the crop tour is, man, you've done as good as you could up to this stage, but stop spending dollars. That's a hard conversation because they are optimistic, but it is difficult, especially for me.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess you just say I'm naturally a butthole, but for me, it's hey, I love the opportunities to say, man, if this was my crop, I'd be proud of it, and I'd go do A, B, and C and wouldn't think twice. But there's times that you're exactly right. We both have had to say, man, you know how to make corn. I'd manage pests between now and then, but I would not go out there and nutritionally and biologically and biostimulant wise do a lot more. It'd just be real hard for me to do those things. I'd manage pests, I'd manage stink bugs, I'd manage disease because all that's going to take away the yield that you kind of you've still got to make. It's not complete, but David, it gets hard for me to spend a lot of extra dollars on things to protect yield that's when the planter is quite often the limiting factor, or when there's some missed opportunities, as you like to call it. I like to
Yeah.
call it they just wasn't listening to me and they could have fixed this opportunities, but I'm a little more direct. But David, it's always hard to tell somebody, hey, you need to be conservative and back off and just manage pests. And, it's still important to protect the crop you got, meaning you got to have, leaves that are photosynthetic of quality. There's no disease there. I mean, hopefully they can still do their job. You got to protect them, and then stink bug, protect the grain.
Yep.
From that perspective, that's pretty simple. And for some, that still means you got to do more than what they've been doing. But it's a big difference in that and me and you shooting for 500 or 600 bushels at that point, right? Because we're doing a lot of extra things at that point to try to get there.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about the budget for that 500 bushel corn. That's going to be quite painful this year. There's going to be less acres played in that arena.
In fields where weeds don't back down, farmers count on Liberty Ultra Herbicide by BASF. The Liberty Lock formulation delivers stronger coverage, improved uptake, and 20% better weed control. Results Colin Ryan in north central Iowa knows well.
The Liberty Lock formulation seems to really get down, penetrate into the weed, and the performance has been great.
That's Liberty Ultra Herbicide. Consistent, proven performance. Hear more Ultramonials at libertyultramonials.com. Always read and follow label directions. In fields where weeds don't back down, farmers count on Liberty Ultra Herbicide by BASF. The Liberty Lock formulation delivers stronger coverage and 20% better weed control, something Todd Ryan in Moravia, Iowa has seen firsthand.
You know, I've been using Liberty for a number of years and really got along fine with it, but now we've upgraded to Liberty Ultra, and it seems like to me the burn down is quicker.
That's Liberty Ultra Herbicide. Clear, reliable efficiency. Hear more Ultramonials at libertyultramonials.com. Always read and follow label directions.
So now I do have a question for you, Dowdy. Your farm there in Georgia, you've rented it out for the last couple of years. So you're kind of starting off on a little bit cleaner slate. And, you know, I don't know if they were growing peanuts or cotton, I don't know, but what? So I'm going to assume you're probably planting some beans early. You're going to be pushing corn. I mean, I know you said you're getting back in. If things go well, you get to stand up. You're probably going to be looking at trying to push some crops. And I'm like, oh, that's, I see the bullseye on my back right now. But what's your rotation going to be like? I mean, are you thinking about being a little heavier on beans, or are you just going to split it in half?
I'm not going to farm a lot of acres, David. The economics just ain't there. I mean, you can't afford to push with what you just said. When you got 500-600 bushel corn, yes, if it materializes, it ROIs. But that's a big two-letter word called if. We can't control the weather. We talked about that first. These hurricanes, these storms, these afternoon cloudy days, all that crap just plays a role. I will be following cotton and or peanuts. They both rotate well. They help with some of our nematode pressure. One field is going to actually be behind some carrots, where they have really done a good job controlling some nematodes. Obviously, they use a lot of tell-on. So I have pulled 1 acre grids on the farms just to get some soil samples to see. Number one, the agreement for them to farm it was that they had to maintain the pH and maintain the fertility levels. If they were going to farm it, they had to maintain those levels. So, David, I got a sneaking suspicion the typical way is they came in and I hope they didn't mind it, but we're going to have a heart-to-heart conversation if they've done that, because I didn't go into this to lose money. I went in this to create some opportunity for me to spend more time with my son. And that has been invaluable. I don't regret any of it, but I didn't do it to lose money on what we had invested in pH establishment and or the fertility. So they pulled 1 acre grids last week. I've got the people going in and checking all the pivots and doing prevent maintenance on them, making sure. I did find some surprises. You go out there in the field and the tire's off the rim. How do you think I felt about that?
We needed air sometime back.
How do you think I felt about that? Needless to say, one of the fields had not been. He was going to run a turning plow and turn it under, and he was going to put all the residue under the ground and try to help manage some of the pigweed pressure on the farm. And that all sounds great, but guess what? Ain't none of that crap been done, and now we got residual corn fodder in the field. And first thing I told my guys when I discovered that, get over here with a disc right now on vertical tillage, Landau vertical tillage rig, and I said, we fixing to bury some residue. And then we found some corn in the field that had lodged, David, and he didn't pick it up by hand. He didn't chase it out of the field with the combine, or chase the combine out of the field with a disc or any kind of tillage. So now you got cobs and ears out there that's going to try to sprout and come up and be a problem. I'm so mad I can't see straight. And he says, well, that's why I was going to turn it on. Well, how are you going to manage the pest in it? How are you going to manage volunteer corn in it? If you plant beans, you have options, but now you're spraying unnecessarily. You could have used from August to December to sprout it and get it up and use some steel. to get it
Yep.
up. Let the frost kill it. These 20-degree mornings kill it. But now, guess what? It's just now getting incorporated and buried. So I'm so mad I can't see straight about one farm. Um, David, I got challenges. It ain't perfect, but we're gonna do our best to manage them. And I told him, I told him, I said, this ain't the way we do things, boy. I said, and I didn't rent this out to go backwards. So
Uh-huh.
it frustrates me, but this too shall pass, and
Yeah.
Daddy's home.
Yep. Well, I am curious. I guess I'm going to be anxious to ask you what the carrots do, because I've never thought about how much nutrients the carrots might pull out of. And
I'll
you
know. I've got the soil samples. Now, here's the part that drives me nuts. He pulled soil samples before he planted a cover crop behind the carrots, and he planted oats as a cover crop, and it's knee high. We're about to get ready to spray it, and they did some dirt work. Got the cover crops planted, spread some lime, but they did 5-acre grids, David.
too, if I wanted it.
Five-acre grids, and I says, man, you got this thing on a 1-acre grid. Why did you pull a 5-acre grid? Oh, you just wasting some money. You spending extra money on that 5-acre grid. And I said, well, if you spread the lime on a lot more acres that you didn't need to, I do know this much. I looked at the 5-acre grids. I then called Tim Kelly and said, Tim, go pull 1-acre grids. We're gonna compare it, and it'll be great conversation. This for total acre and or for the podcast. But we're gonna pull 1-acre grids on it. We're gonna compare to what we got. But the first thing that I saw looking at 5s versus 1, the pH is lower. It's a solid half point lower than what he got it. Now, granted, he pulled in November or October, and I pulled the 1-acre grids that I did was in January. So we're
Okay.
comparing apples and apples now. So the time frame difference, we're going to find out if the pH went up. Now, he did spread some lime based off that in November, per what he told me. But David, I saw that the pH was different. It was a full 1/2 to 6/10 of a point lower. The phosphorus levels were about 30 parts per million lower, and the potash levels were a full, almost a 1/2 point base saturation lower. So it's a root crop. I mean, they pulled a bunch of tonnage off of it. So I'm
Sure.
curious as to fertility, where are we going to be? And my next phone call is going to be when we get those results back. Okay, this is what it's going to take to get it back to where it was at. What are you prepared to do?
Well, he can afford to put the potash out, but I'd be struggling on that phosphate. That's a tough pill to swallow right now. And I guess I never thought about how much fertilizer Bugs Bunny eats in a day's time. So you would
I
think
know it's
they're
a big nitrogen consumer. I know they
uh-huh.
put a lot of nitrogen, and that may explain some of the pH, right?
Sure.
But the phosphorus and potash piece, it's not hard to know removal numbers. They should have stayed ahead of that piece of it. So
Well,
it's gonna be interesting to see what we get on these 1-acre grids.
Well, I'm going to be anxious at our next podcast. I got 2 things I need to do. We need to talk about crop insurance because it's going to be sign up time. And then we're going to talk about what carrots do. And, clearly you think they'd break compaction, but because they do have a little bit of a root, but I'll be anxious. We're going to talk about that next go around, Dowdy.
No
Well,
problem.
just for time's sake, it's always my pleasure to be on a podcast with the D part, or Dowdy or David, but then of course the Randy side of it. So, Dowdy, look forward to another podcast. But for growers that are watching, go to totalacre.com. We're getting ready to have our grower clinic. Like Dowdy started this conversation at the beginning of the podcast. It's going to start on the 22nd of February. That Sunday, we have a reception. We got a great line of vendors and sponsors. John Deere, of course. We got ROI Biologicals, Cody Goins. Then we got the Fent folks, Precision Planting, and then a whole lineup of biological companies and vendors. It's going to be a great opportunity to learn some information. And then Monday, we're going to be at an arena, so we'll get to play with some equipment. And then Tuesday, we're going to be inside, have some classroom discussion. And then Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday morning, it is focused on data from total acre trials and what farmers did. We're going to learn about what happened in 25 and previous. So it's a big data reveal. And then right after that, the Commodity Classic starts. So go to totalacre.com, see if it can fit into your schedule, and look forward to seeing you there. Dowdy, always a pleasure, sir. So
Yes, sir.
God bless you, and you be safe.
You too, man. Take care.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon for another new episode of Breaking Barriers with R&D. Be sure to like and subscribe. And remember, all episodes are available on Farm Journal TV and anywhere podcasts are found.